May 11th was Mother's Day. 1 month post-op, Lisa finally got to hold Wyatt again and discovers that he has gained 2 teeth. June 6th, our first golf tournament. At the time I figured it would be the only and had no intention of doing something all the time. It was a great day and we had a lot of fun, raised money and awareness at the same time, and I was floored by the number of people and businesses wanting to help out and get involved. Wyatt was still in CCU, so obviously he and Lisa did not come. July 2nd, after many failed extubations, they finally took a look at his airway. They found out that his airway is completely eroded from being intubated so long and so many times. There was almost nothing left of it, just cartilage. His vocal cords were completely squished. He also needed stents in his lower left bronchus. On July 22nd, he got 2 stents. It was expected that after he got the stents, he would be able to extubate. He wasn't. They tried and tried and tried. It was so trying and heartbreaking for Lisa and baffling for everyone. We saw Wyatt laying there every day sedated, often muscle relaxed, unable to let him wake up as he was in too much pain and too uncomfortable from his airway. This was clearly not good for him, so the doctors met and had a discussion. September 3rd, after 5 months straight intubated and in the CCU, they discussed a trach with Lisa. September 8th, a family meeting was held at the hospital. The options and implications were explained to all of us. He could get a trach and would require 24-hour-a-day care, or we could let him go. The latter was not an option, and everyone rallied around him and Lisa, and were willing to do whatever we had to do. We were told they were not sure if he'd need to be vented still or not, but it didn't matter to us. Wyatt had fought so long and so hard, we were not about to give up on him that easily. We were reminded that because of his heart defect alone, never mind anything else, we could take the palliative care route at any time, and that if Wyatt had been born in most other places, even in North America, he never would have been operated on to begin with, so we were very lucky. September ended up being quite a month for us. We decided Wyatt was getting his trach. His friend Sophia was relisted for heart transplant, and his girlfriend Emma died. Wyatt got his trach on September 24th. On October 28th, Wyatt went for his first walk since being admitted to CCU April 10th. They loaded up all his equipment, and with a crew of 8, plus himself and Lisa, off they went around the halls of CCU. It was awesome. He tried little bits of baby food most days, and was allowed to have baths again. We were all getting trach trained. In November, he hit 19 pounds, which was a miracle for Wyatt. He was being fitted for a special new seat to the tune of the base model price, $5,000, to carry him around with all his gear and help his development, which was now severely behind due to being bedridden so long, and unsure of what damage was caused by the arrest. He started doing trach mask trials, and after months of not seeing his beautiful smile, he smiled again. Christmas came again, and this time it was spent in CCU, but it was, believe it or not, a better Christmas than the first. Wyatt was doing well. He was able to leave his room for walks, and so once again the family planned that they would not be alone. His Uncle Colin stayed over Christmas Eve. Mom went over with breakfast again, and we went down with a homemade Christmas dinner. The staff in the CCU were becoming more and more used to us, and were becoming more accommodating as Wyatt had been there so long at this point. So they gave us their training room and allowed us to have our Christmas dinner in there. Wyatt's nurse and his favorite RT and ours joined us, as well as Sophia and her parents and Emma's parents. Wyatt sampled all kinds of food, got to play with his cousins for the first time since April, and loved cheesecake. The plan was to move him to Bloorview at the end of January. He started getting sick again, and they didn't know what was going on. So they did an MRI. There were narrowings in the right pulmonary artery, right bronchus, and left bronchus. The lower left lung was entirely collapsed. He suddenly stopped doing his trach trials and home went. February 3rd, he went for a cath. They dilated many areas, but discovered his pressures were far too high. One side of his pulmonary artery had detached, and there was not enough blood flow to his lungs. The branches were dying, called pulmonary artery disease, and if this was not repaired, the right lung would die. We waited to hear what Dr. Bernardo would say. We had a small amount of hope that he could do something, but not a lot. As we knew, he had said before that he didn't think Wyatt would tolerate another heart surgery for quite a long time. February 11th, our next family meeting was called at the hospital. We were told there was nothing more surgically that they could do for Wyatt, and that they felt that the next infection he got, he would die, and that they were very sorry. We left there trying to prepare ourselves, crying and sad and stunned, but not wanting Wyatt to feel any of that. Our gala was to be in 2 days. I had to hold it together because Lisa did not want the world to know what was going on just yet. We had our first annual gala, and it was an incredible event, attended by many local dignitaries, heart families, and strangers from the community. It was incredible to see over 200 people come together to support Wyatt and Lisa, and it was so hard to stand there and smile and say what a fighter Wyatt was when in my heart I knew what was going on. I also knew right then that we could not stop having events, raising awareness of congenital heart defects, or let anyone forget Wyatt no matter when he died. The hospital arranged for a photographer to come in and take photos of Wyatt and Lisa. This was amazing, and looking back, I wish they had done that sooner as well. This is one of those little things that are taken for granted when we have healthy children, and that may seem simple and silly to the hospital when you are there with your critically ill child. But these photos are now all we have left, and we are so grateful that we have them, and only wish we had more. So, as I mentioned, the doctors felt we had a couple of weeks with Wyatt, and he was going to deteriorate very quickly. 2 days later, he started to smile again. The biggest, toothiest, brightest smiles ever. Doctors felt this was probably our calm before the storm. Fast forward to March 23rd, over a month later. Wyatt went upstairs to bake cookies with his cousin, went outside for his first walk in over a year, outside. He was doing trach mask trials again and home vent trials. These are things that the doctors said he would never do again. They were baffled. By April 7th, he was doing 8 hours a day on the trach mask and 9.5 hours a day on the home vent, better than ever before. We started planning again for him to go home. April 10th marked 1 year straight in the CCU. April 19th, he was up to 8 hours a day trach mask and 12 hours a day home vent. He was almost ready. He was at 17 months straight in the hospital. April 27th, we had a birthday party for him in the playroom, complete with party hats, presents, and a Madagascar cake. I thought he did not look very well. May 4th, he wouldn't tolerate the trach mask or home vent. They thought he had an infection and kept testing and treating him for everything. On May 14th, they finally told Lisa that they felt it was his heart and that we had a couple of weeks, and this was it. 2 days later, on May 16th, at 6:56, in his mom's arms and surrounded by his family, Wyatt died. 3.5 months after they told us he had 2 weeks. Sorry. At his funeral, there were so many CCU staff. I truly wondered who staffed the CCU that day, and felt sorry for the patients who were there. Once again, I was struck by how special Wyatt was, because here we were surrounded by hospital staff, people who see children die every day from heart defects, and they came out to his funeral. Some of them even spoke at it. Why did I tell you all this? In order for you to understand why the foundation was started, I think you need to understand Wyatt. Wyatt's life was never easy, not for a second. He fought for every moment, every second of his life, from the first to the last. The irony of his death was that he was dying because of his heart. But he sat at 7 all day that day, and his heart stayed strong in the 140s until the last seconds. So the very thing that killed him was at the same time so strong. If that is not inspiring, I don't know what is. I can tell you all these things about Wyatt, and this is his medical story. But what people and what doctors really need to know is that Wyatt wasn't just a medical mystery. He wasn't just a severe heart defect patient. He was a person, a little boy loved more than life itself by so many. And that all the time he spent fighting for his life, his family was too. His mom was. His mom gave up her entire life for him and knew and loved him like nothing I ever saw before. It was so frustrating, and when there were so many times when conflicts would arise because of policies or doctors forgetting that mom always knows best. Wyatt staying in CCU for that long was a record. His quality of life was poor at best because he was stuck in CCU because he was ventilated. 4D wouldn't take him. This meant OT, PT was compromised because there was only so much allowed for the CCU. When we were there alone, there were several families we got to know very well who were also there for months at a time. We hope that the long-term care will change in CCU. We hope to help make that change. Staff need to understand the dynamics of a family, and that family isn't always blood. So many times there were issues because Lisa and other heart moms were so close and wanted to visit each other, and it was frowned upon because they were not family. It even went so far as to be told they couldn't. Doctors need to realize that circumstances bring people together, and you need those people and they need you. Blood or no blood, those people were and still are family. And in a time like this, no one should ever be told, no, you can't. Exceptions should be made based on circumstance. Wyatt did not see his cousins for 8 months straight because of rules. There needs to be a point where exceptions are made for sake of families. Wyatt and Lisa got a bed to lay together for the last day of his life. She had not been able to lay with her son in over a year. Why? Policy. I hope you will remember next time there is a mother who yells at you or snaps at you that she's fighting for her child's life, has given up her own, and that not only is she doing that, but she's also worrying about the rest of her family that she cannot be with, struggling financially and worrying constantly about the future. That when your child is in CCU, you still need to feel involved and be able to do things. We are not stupid. You can show us, teach us how to safely do things for them. We need to feel involved. Perhaps there should be a long-term care wing in the CCU. Consider more visual aids when explaining to a stunned new heart parent what is going on with their child. Be prepared to spend hours going over and over again until they get it. Again, they're not stupid, but are in shock. Speak in terms they can understand. We were lucky and would like to thank all of the doctors and surgeons and nurses, all of his care staff that Wyatt had, because they were willing to stretch the rules for him and spent so much time with us and him explaining things and going over things over and over again, explaining things to our dad, who was just impossible to explain things to. We saw so many things and learned so much. We hope to be able to help other families like us, other kids like Wyatt. We are very fortunate to have the relationships we had and have with Wyatt's care providers, which help us to facilitate what we do now. The events, as I mentioned, started when Wyatt was just a year old. At that time, I had no plans of creating a foundation. When I heard he was going to die, I knew I had to, for him and for all the others like him. The second golf tournament was held 3 weeks after he died. We are now in our 3rd year. We have 3 annual events, a gala every February, golf tournament every June, and a walkathon every September. It took a while to decide and a lot of legwork to get it done, but finally on May 16, 2010, exactly 1 year to the day of Wyatt's death, the papers were mailed to incorporate us federally as a non-for-profit organization. Wyatt's Warriors Congenital Heart Defects Foundation was born with new warriors on board. Brian, Laura, and Randy, all heart parents as well. Our goal is to lobby for prenatal and newborn screening, raise awareness of CHDs, funds for the Labatt Family Heart Center, and families affected by congenital heart defects. We hope that with prenatal screening, more knowledge ahead of time would give kids better chance, and the parents and the doctors more knowledge. We hope that one day no child will lose their life and no parent their child because of a CHD. And why Madagascar, the road less traveled, you might ask? Well, Wyatt's favorite movie was Madagascar, and he definitely took the road less traveled, and now so are we. We could sit back and let his death consume us, but instead we are going to make a difference. We are going to instill change and make sure that Wyatt's name will live on forever. Love is not written on paper, for paper can be erased, nor is it etched on a stone, for a stone can be broken, but it is inscribed on a heart, and there it shall remain forever.